Welcome to
our open tabs.
Toot toot. I'm Mara.
And I'm Jess.
I feel like we've settled into an intro. It's not good.
It's something.
But it is consistent at this point,
yes.
I feel like.
People know. They're not expecting a certified jingle. Who says that's not to come? I don't know.
If that's what they're expecting, they will be disappointed because it is not what we are serving.
Let's keep our expectations low, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm loving your Christmas background. Like a little
me in YouTube ambient rooms or ambient like ASMR room.
Love it.
I mean, it is actually chilly today for Louisiana. It was like 30 this morning. Maybe it's like high of 50s. But I'm like, oh, let's pretend it's snowing.
Mm-hmm.
In the inside.
Yeah, it was a little brisk today. We're getting there slowly but surely.
In the Tennessee. Do y'all normally get snow in Nashville, or that's from the mountain? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll snow. We usually get, I'd say, what we would call a good snow a year, maybe two, which is like, say, 3 to 6 inches.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then we get like dustings in between.
But is your city, do they actually know how to respond to the snow?
Oh, no. I didn't say that. I did not say that. But, allegedly it's going to be a very harsh winter this year, though. So.
I have heard I forgot who was telling me, but someone was saying like, oh yeah, it's going to snow in Louisiana. I was like, mainly because, well, luckily I work from home. So if anything, I can stay at home. My thing is, anytime leaving when it snows somewhere that has no kind of infrastructure or plan for that is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have some sand. We'll throw some sand on the road. Like in South Carolina, that's what they would do when we get snow or ice. They just get sand.
No.
Or everything just shuts down. You could do nothing because no one is prepared. And
that's that's kind of our vibe. I do have salt, so I can like salt my driveway, and I live on not main roads, but like they're cut through roads, so they have pretty good traffic. So I tend to get plowed out pretty quickly. But it's mostly just that I don't want to drive with all of these people who don't know how to drive in the snow.
God. Absolutely not.
I keep my butt at home.
Yes.
And wait until the roads are in good enough condition that I'm not worried about being T-barred.
Yeah. People are terrible drivers when it's clear out and dry. So
yes. Yes. Nashville drivers are terrible because it's a big city. We have one of the worst traffic situations in the country now, and nobody knows how to drive in it. So it's just like,
I remember last year, this was kind of when I had first started my job. Maybe it was around this time last year, but there was like, I don't know if it was like an ice storm, but I kept getting claims where it was like 4, 5, 6 car, because they were all driving too fast for conditions, and this one couldn't brake, and then just a chain. And I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah, just stay at home if you can. If you don't know how to drive, or if you don't trust your neighbors to drive.
Yeah, so most of us should be at home. But there's people who are like, I'm a great driver. Or your vehicle, just especially if you live in the South, maybe not be equipped to drive. Because even when I lived in Washington, I had a company car because I used to go do field inspections, and it was a Chevy Malibu. But we got snow, and like I remember I had to stay home for a week. I couldn't go out. But then even going out to some like rural parts, there was still snow, and I'm like, this is not all-wheel drive. This Malibu is not getting out that.
She's like,
she was trying her hardest. It was like, no, ma'am.
I did learn how to drive okay in the snow when I lived in DC. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a great snow driver, but for somebody from the South, I would say I have intermediate snow driving skills.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not good enough for me to feel safe amongst
See,
others.
if only people had your rationale, because some people will be like, I drove in the snow one time 20 years ago. So
Stay home, Billy Bob.
perfect name. Yes.
Oh, well, I have no good transition, but I'll just show you. I'll just hold this up and say, it's craft drama time, everyone.
I am so excited because I just want to know. Well, I had a taste of what craft drama can be from Taylor B Boop Bop Bop. But or maybe that was more interior design. I don't know. Do you consider that craft drama? But I know nothing else, so I'm excited to hear what
Well,
you got for me.
I have been getting back into crafting in the last couple years because I have an autoimmune disease. So in the wintertime, Mara doesn't just stay at home for snow. That's the tie-in. Mara also stays at home in the winter now because the Rona it's not good for any of us. Spoiler, if you looked at any of the studies about what COVID is actually doing to your body, I think you would put your mask back on. But it's really not good for me. So in the winter, I hibernate like a little baby bear. And last year, when I hibernated, I taught myself to sew. And this year, I'm getting back into knitting. That's going to be in embroidery. Those are going to be my wintertime crafts. So I've been looking up lots of how to knit a sock, which is what I'm doing right now. I got served by the YouTube algorithm gods something that was talking about, quote, the Fybrefest of knitting.
I was wondering why this said I was like, Fybrefest? What does that mean?
So they're calling it Fybrefest. And the first video I saw was from this guy called Austin Green. And then some of this also was that this was when I was first really getting into some of the stuff with Palestine. So this was my dissociation time, was watching people talk about their experiences at this event.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to talk about Woolen Folk 2023.
Wait, is that what it's called?
That is what it is called.
I'm living for these names already.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to tell this like a story. If you want more receipt-based videos, I recommend that one from Austin Green, or Emma in the Moment just did one as well. But I'm proud to say I picked up on this before Emma covered it. So
ooh,
she did a great job. That was a great video. Okay. Picture it. Upstate New York, 2022 fall. You are a knitter extraordinaire, and you are so passionate about your knitting that you have decided to go to something called Rhinebeck, or the actual name of this is the New York Sheep and Wool Festival.
Okay.
So this is an international event, and it's just all things fiber. So there are yarn companies, they have the actual sheep. So you get to pet the sheep and the llamas and stuff.
Oh.
And you get to see people spinning things into yarn, and you can get all these specialized notions. It's just a nerdy knitting fiber art good time.
I'd like to go. That sounds fun.
There's also one in Maryland. So if you want something a little closer to home. But Rhinebeck is a very big event. And since COVID, there was this feeling of oh, we really need to we, the knitting community, want to get back together. So there have been these sort of pre-game events to Rhinebeck for the last few years. One is called Cake-a-Palooza. One is called, I think, India Untangled. But the one we're going to talk about is called Woolen Folk.
Okay.
So you look like you have questions already.
I already forgot the name. Rhinefest? The big Rhinebeck. So does that normally happen every year, or is it every couple of years?
It's usually every year, and it's been happening, I forget how long, but, like, let's say since the '50s. Like, it's been there a long time. It's a very
Okay.
well-established event.
Okay. Did it
Um,
stop after, or did it not happen in COVID and then they've taken
I think
time off?
so, but it's been back for a couple. I think they were just off in 2020.
Okay.
Um, but, like, there's also all of these, like, more local festivals. So I should mention some good context here is that the knitting community has a lot of small vendors that they like to support because most hardcore knitters don't like a lot of the more like mass manufactured yarns. Like they're not as nice to work with. You can't get as many like specialized colors or
Mm.
textures or whatever. So there's like a very big culture of supporting independent yarn dyers and makers.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah. So there's lots of like local craft fairs where like, or like regional. So like there might be one in Nashville where people from like the tri-state area might come
Mhm.
and vend their yarns. But so that also wasn't happening during COVID. And normally those are like also kind of like community, like there's a lot of like connection and community that
Yeah.
happens. So to try to like restart some of the communal aspect, Woolen Folk was supposed to be this knitting event or like a fiber art event that was also, so it was wool and then folk, so it was going to have like live folk music, food, and it has lots of like hangout space. So you can
Mhm.
bring your knitting and maybe you have a friend that you met on Ravelry and you guys are going to meet up and you're going to knit together while you listen
What
to
is
folk music.
Ravelry? Is
Ravelry is the Goodreads of knitting.
Oh my word! I want to be a
Yes.
knitter.
Join me. Hibernate with me.
This is amazing.
It's very cute.
That is so cute. It's a space you can like buy new things and also work on projects
You
there.
can, yeah, it's got like a notebook so you can keep track of all your patterns and you can like comment on other people's progress and
Oh,
like
that's
start
fucking
forum
cute.
posts and lots of drama goes down over there.
Ah,
But you
feels
also
very
can
cute.
like make friends, so like
Yeah.
people would do like meetups and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Woolenfeld 2022 is a great event. Everybody has a great time. It's really good for the vendors. They made a lot of money. Everybody really enjoyed the food and like the communal, like the goal of it being very community oriented was achieved. The only thing that people said was like, "Hey, accessibility wise, this is not a great event. Like if you have any kind of mobility issues, it's a struggle.
Hmm.
And even though there were 1,000 parking spots, it probably wasn't enough. So like let's next year let's aim for better accessibility."
Yeah.
But other than that, great event. So lots of people are very excited for 2023. Why wouldn't they be? Because they have a new venue, which is this orchard. So that sounds lovely.
Ooh. Yes.
Um, it's supposed to be the same emphasis on, crafting, but also the folk music, food trucks, communal space. It's supposed to be great. I should mention another part of their like mission statement is diversity and inclusion. So like this is very purposefully a very inclusive event. It's supposed to be. One of the founders is a woman of color, so like there's an emphasis on like BIPOC vendors get discounts. So like it is supposed to be a very inclusive event as well. I
Does
should
this
mention
happen
that.
in the same place? This one particularly? Is this in Maryland?
It's also in New York, so it always happens
Oh, the wool.
around the
Okay.
New York Woolen. Did you hear that?
Was that a kitty? He
Yeah,
stinks.
maybe.
Marfa?
Nobody's crying, so. Um, okay, yeah. So they're gonna have it in this orchard, and everyone's like, "Great. Okay, this is supposed to take care of some of the accessibility issues. Great." About 6 weeks, and I should say, sold out. There's 3,000 people coming to this. There's 90 vendors.
Whew.
Like this is gonna be a very packed event.
Yeah.
6 weeks before the event is supposed to happen. On Instagram Live, well, I should also mention, there's originally 2 founders. They apparently had creative differences, and one departs. Interesting. 6 weeks before the event, on Instagram Live, the remaining founder, Felicia, announces that there's a venue change again. So instead of being at this orchard, it's going to be at this like factory, abandoned, like reconverted factory space called Foreland. And this is not sent out in an email. This is like, if you didn't catch this Instagram Live, you just didn't know. Some people still went to the orchard on this the day of.
Her only notification was Instagram Live?
That's my understanding. I think maybe some people like heard through the grapevine or saw it in another post or something. Like most people knew that it had changed, but I don't believe there was a formal email communication that went out.
Oh. Okay.
So what is Foreland like? Well, let me share this little brochure they have. So look at this. Look how beautiful. Okay, oh, it's like a.
I had definitely something else in my. This looks way better.
it's like 1900s or 1800s converted factory space.
Okay.
Okay, so like lovely, great. Now here's a couple of examples of layouts. Okay, I'm seeing 144 guests seated, 176. Okay. How many people does this venue space hold? Well, it says it can accommodate up to 200 guests seated indoors and up to 500 guests using the entire venue.
But you said there's usually a lot more people.
I did say that, didn't I? I did mention that there's 3,000 people who are supposed to be coming to this event.
Why did they change it? Yeah, this looks like definitely a better event for a wedding or something, I don't know, that has less than 500 people who are coming.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it says it's ADA compliant. There is a rickety old-fashioned elevator somewhere, but you know,
you got to get in and get.
So there's some cool. If one had looked that up at the time, one might have had a question of like,
yes,
okay, so it doesn't seem like there's enough space for everyone. Just from that, they have 25 parking spots. And if you'll remember last year, they didn't. They
How
had
many?
issues with 25. 25. But don't worry, Jess, because Felicia has secured 3 off-site parking locations. One is 14-minute walking and it has 100 spots. One is 20-minute walking and has 350. And one is a 30-minute walk, but it has 1,000. So we're good.
Are there shuttles?
Allegedly, yes. But if you have any kind of accessibility to get into this like Sprinter van, you are SOL.
25 parking space?
Yes.
How does that even work for a wedding?
That's a great well, and they also have street parking. But this town, I believe that this event like doubled the size of the town. The town is very small. It's called Catskill, New York.
I've heard of that.
So,
okay.
And I should also mention that part of the reason that Felicia had to change venues was because she could not get her permits approved by the original location's town, because they did the math and they said this venue can hold no more than 2,000 people. Parking is going to be a nightmare because there is nowhere for people to park, and like traffic is going to be terrible. So
and that was for the orchard.
That was for the orchard. So like there's all these town hall like minutes basically discussing what a disaster this would be if they allowed this to go through.
We love them thinking and actually doing some math.
I have no idea how this got approved because I guess she did get at least one permit, but I think that they must like, I don't know if that person came into work drunk, I don't know if they lied, I don't know what happened, but, like, there is no way that somebody should have given a permit for this event for a venue that holds 500 people.
She was like, "Yeah, we usually get around 3,000." And like, "How many? 300?" Yeah,
Yeah,
300, sure.
yeah, that's yeah, yeah. Um, I should also mention some of the money I should mention that this new venue is 40 minutes away from the old one, so if you got your Airbnb right next to the original venue so that you could be close, you now have
Mhm.
an additional 40-minute drive that you're gonna have to do, and if you're vending and have to get there at the butt crack of dawn, that's very annoying, and
Yeah,
everything is sold out because this is such a big weekend in this
yeah.
area. How much would you guess somebody would have to pay to get into this event?
Hmm. I don't know. Let me guess. I've never been to this kind of thing.
Like,
Um,
if I said, like, "Hey, I wanna take you to this craft event," like this
mhm.
craft fair where there's, like, a lot of vendors
Is it
and
multiple
some music.
days?
No, it's 1 day.
Oh,
Yeah.
$50? I don't
Okay,
know.
it's 45 if you did early. I was surprised she charged anything. Like, when I thought about it, I was like, "Okay, I guess you have to, like, maybe cover some of the costs of the space rentals or whatever." But the
Yeah.
main festival, the New York Sheep and Wool, costs $15 to get into.
Oh.
So, like, it's 45 early and then I think 60 at the door for front
Oh!
book.
I guess 50 just because I feel like everything is stupid expensive now, but I was
That
hoping
is
that it
so
would
true.
be lower.
Well,
What?
and if yeah, yeah. So there's 3,000 people, and there's also a pre-event the night before. There's, like, a dinner and early shopping, and if you wanna go to that, you have to pay $250 a person.
Um, Absolutely not. I think you're lying to me.
Mm,
You said, what kind of dinner is this?
I mean, it's fine, but it looked like meat and salad and sides and cookies for dessert.
250 to do that and early access for you to spend more money?
Yes. And you also get a goodie bag that mostly consisted of
Oh.
business cards.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
250 what?
And then so that's just for the people who are attending, and then if you were a vendor well, let me give you a ballpark. The biggest booth at the main event, New York Sheep and Wool, the most expensive booth for a vendor to rent is $500.
Mhm.
How much would you guess the small and large booths at Woolen Folk are?
Well, now I have a small booth,
10 by
200
10.
two two oh god, 10 by 10,
A
maybe
10 by 10 booth.
$100 and a large booth, 250 maybe?
Uh, it is $900 for the small booth and
Shut
1,800 for the 10
shut
by 20.
shut your mouth.
And these are small businesses. These are not like big these are like you love knitting and you
900?
started yeah,
How are they supposed to make
900.
any money?
Well, because the previous year, it had been very profitable for people because they're just people are just going crazy for this yarn, let me tell you.
Okay, $900?
Yeah. Something else I should mention that I've realized in researching this, these indie dyers, they don't just have inventory sitting on their website. There's like these drops. So like
Mm,
because they're dyeing it by hand. So like
mhm,
they'll put it up and like it's gone very
yeah,
quickly because they're only doing it in batches. And the other thing I've realized since I started knitting, you really do want to feel it before you buy it if you can
mhm.
because you wanna get a sense of, like, how thick it is, how soft it is, like,
Yeah, that
what
makes
the
sense.
color is in real life.
'Cause
So,
it's gonna
like
be a material you're knitting into something, so if you don't like the feeling of it
yeah. Yeah. So I can totally see that, like, the vibe I get is people save up money to go to this event and get all of their favorite yarn.
Because they can touch them and look at them in person.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So I think that's why the vendors are like, this is a great opportunity because there's going to be 3,000 people here ready to throw money at me.
Yeah. But $900.
Theoretically. Yeah. So Miss Felicia has made a lot of money just like before the doors have even opened.
Yeah.
So what else do I want to tell you about this? Oh, I should also mention Forelands. So Foreland had just evicted something called the Hudson Catskill Housing Coalition, which was a housing coalition trying to help Black and Brown people in upstate New York who are getting priced out of being able to live there. Ironically, the rent had been raised, I think, like 200% on them by Foreland in this space. So they had just been evicted, which is bad PR. And Woolen Folk is like this diverse event. So I'm kind of wondering if Foreland turned some blind eyes because they thought it would be good PR.
Yeah.
Because they just did something shitty to one group of BIPOC people to then maybe do something not shitty to another. I don't know.
Wow. I wouldn't be shocked if that was their thought process.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Because why would you ever say yes to an event that you knew had 3,000? That part I don't understand why the venue would allow it.
I am still stuck on 25 parking spaces. What is this, Trader Joe's?
That does sound like Trader Joe's. They're great. 3,000 people coming to Trader Joe's that has.
It would be like, this is our biggest store. Everyone's going to be coming. Let's choose the least amount of parking spaces available. I swear that's their motto.
It truly is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, so before the event even happens, there's a Reddit forum called r/craftsnark, which I highly recommend to people. And they are already over there popping off. They're like, this sounds like a disaster. Like, there's no parking. Like, they changed the venue at the last minute. This sounds like it's going to be a disaster. And they were right. So the day before the event, the vendors start to get here. And just when I tell you there are vendors from Kansas, there are people from Portland. There's this one poor lady who came from the UK. There's another lady from Scotland. Like, they came from all over to get themselves to Woolen Folk to sell their fucking yarn.
Mm-hmm.
They show up. I did not tell you an important detail. The way that Felicia sold this to the vendors was, hey, at the orchard, you were all going to have to be outside. At this new venue, you're all going to be inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it may or may not rain. So you're all going to be inside. That's the win here.
Yeah.
So they never get an updated contract to say that they're now vending at Foreland instead of at this orchard. They never get an updated vendor map of where everybody is, and they never get a load-in schedule. Apparently, all of these things are huge red flags if you are selling at one of these kinds of events. I should say I'm having to take the word of people a lot because, like, I've never done anything like this before, but you guys sound outraged, so I guess this is a problem. So they show up, and it is chaos. There's actually not enough room for all of these vendors to be inside. So half of them are going to be able to be inside. The other half are going to be outside. But nobody brought their setup to be outside. Like, most of them have like tarps and weights and special tents and special lighting and all of that if they're going to be outside.
But they need to know that in advance to come with it.
Yes. So, like, imagine you have maybe you didn't even drive. Maybe you flew from like Colorado. You shipped all of your inventory there and are going to have to like pick it up. You didn't bring tarps. Like, they're not just there. You just don't have them. And now you're outside.
And
And when wool gets wet, it felts.
What's that mean?
It means all the fibers get melted together. So like, like felt when you're a kid, that's what wool does.
Oh.
So if it gets wet, it's unsellable.
Please don't tell me it rains.
Oh, just strap in. Rain is the least of the
God.
So they're like, okay. Meanwhile, we have vendors who are disabled, who have some sort of physical disability. One of them, like, but there's nowhere to unload anything, like because of those 25 parking spots. Like, there's nowhere for you to like back a van in and unload things. So, like, there's like disabled vendors who are having to walk like 10 minutes from the street parking they found in front of like a church with their wares, like with boxes. If you didn't bring anybody with you, you're by yourself trying to do that. Like, it is complete chaos. There's no vendor map. One vendor had to move, I think, like 5 different times. Like, anybody who complains, she would, like, the organizers would just give them an indoor spot, but that means they bumped somebody who had an indoor spot, and they would then have to just, like, go find someplace else.
Did you say how many vendors there were?
I believe I heard there were 90 vendors.
Jesus.
So, and the way that they've got them set up is that there are 2 buildings, and then there's like this outdoor space. So in 2 of the buildings, they're on the 1st floor, and then in one of the buildings, there's a 5th floor. And the only way up to the 5th floor is with a 1-person rickety ass like 1902 elevator or this really narrow stairway. So anybody who's up on the 5th floor is basically screwed because nobody can get to them.
Jesus.
So they're unloading, they're trying to make the best of it, and they're trying to get ready for this preview night because all of them have to be fully set up in order to accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the rain. Yes, it is raining. And so they're also trying to keep everything dry, and there's no well, let me show you. Okay, so I found some footage from a few different people. This is what it looked like the night before when they're doing this setup. Okay, so these guys are interviewing people at the festival. Okay, so he starts walking. I just wanted to give you a sense of like, here's where everybody who's outside is stuck in one of these kinds of tents. Ooh. Look at how wide the sidewalk is. That's just like normal ass suburban sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's supposed to be where everybody's walking back and forth. And so he's going from one building to the other. And then he gets in. So this is one of the indoor spaces. And this is before there are really, like, it's just the vendors. How would you describe?
It looks a little snug. Ooh, but look at all the colors. Sorry.
No, isn't it pretty? I know. Half of this, I'm just like, ooh, I want to buy that. And by the way, I will definitely make sure we link the list of vendors who were at this event.
And I love
in the description
sweat.
Because
yeah.
But okay, so this is one of the indoor spaces.
It does not look large. It looks full with just the vendors and their wares.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to tell, but if you watch this full thing, as this is go,
oh, I know, make these themselves.
Yes, and look how pretty.
Oh, I love these.
Yeah, it's worth watching these just to look at the pretty yarn and to look at all the pretty stuff.
I do not need to hyperfixate on another hobby, but yet I do.
And I hate to break, these are like $40 a skein. So I know it's been bad for me already.
But oh my gosh, that is so much stuff in there.
So like by its nature, these booths are very crowded. Like just from like being able to show.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to put your stuff out and show your inventory.
Yeah. So you've got that. And and I couldn't find the video. I found one where I thought it did a really good job of showing what the night before was like, but you'll just have to take my word for it. The night before, I was already like, oh, this seems full. Like with the 200 people who paid $250 to come do the early shopping, plus the vendors, it felt uncomfortably full to me at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I think I would not be enjoying myself right now at this event. It seems like it's too many people, and there's nowhere to sit.
What? I thought you said there was a dinner.
Oh, okay. I guess the night before they had tables for the dinner.
I was like, where am I eating my dinner? But still, that
like if you're like, let's say you're up on the 5th floor and you just want to like sit down for a second, there's nowhere for you to sit. Like,
ugh.
You were standing the whole time. Yeah.
Oh.
So the night before, it's weak food. I mean, it's fine, but not $250 fine. The gift bags are not gifting. It's already feeling crowded, and she did not. So the organizer Felicia didn't tell anybody that they were not going to be able to shop after dinner. The vendors and the customers or the guests all thought people were going to be able to shop after dinner. So most people were just like looking through everything before dinner, and then they were going to go buy it afterwards. She shut it down. So there are many vendors who made 0 sales that night before, but had to do their full setup.
Why? What was her reasoning?
No one knows. Yeah.
Felicia.
And also, it's already so uncomfortably full that there's at least one woman who tripped over a spike and broke a bone in her shoulder. So, like, before the main event, it's already so crowded and there's so much stuff everywhere that people are bumping into things. People are knocking yarn into mud. People are tripping over stuff. Like,
I hope Felicia got insurance for this event, but knowing her, she skimped on it.
I don't know if she did or not, but it'll be interesting if people
yarn in the mud.
I know. Beautiful, like hand dyed. There's one lady, her name's Botanical Yarns. She's one who came from England, and she dyes her yarns with flowers. Her and her mom do it, and it's like so. You can see like the little like different flower colors in the yarn. It's so pretty.
This is dangerous. So maybe we shouldn't have done this because now,
now you're
like, give me all the vendors.
I know.
When's the next event?
You're like, I will be there. Okay, so all that we haven't even gotten to the actual day. So now we're at the actual day. It's not going well. We're not live, laugh, loving yet.
No, how could you in these conditions?
And so the day of, it's just absolute chaos. It's chaos for the vendors. So like, let me just run through the problems they had. There's no vendor map, so nobody can find where they are if they're looking for them in particular. There's they're like we've talked about, their inventory is getting dropped into the mud or dropped into water. Like a lot of their inventory is getting ruined. Many of them got less booth space than they were supposed to because of how crowded it was, and because several of the booths were so flooded or so muddy that they were unusable. So like vendors banded together to give each other space. It's actually very affirming to see like how the vendors all work together to try to make this work for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I think they see each other a lot at different shows, and like if it's not a good shopping experience, none of them will make money. So like, they want it to be like good flow. And
yes, because I don't understand this, Felicia, because it's yes, it's a gathering event and community, but people come to buy things. So like the shopping experience and logistics is very important.
Very important. And they're trying to like, so like they're crowding into like multiple. So let's say you spent $900 for a booth, but your booth is so muddy it's unusable. Your neighbor will just like let you in to theirs and you'll split. So you've both paid $900 and you're each only getting half of a 10 by 10 space.
That's already so small.
It's robbery. Like a lot of booths were flooded and had standing water in them. They were supposed to have electricity access, and many of them didn't, or they had like cords running through the mud to get them electricity. Oh, okay. So like, remember how I mentioned people came from out of town? So they would like ship their inventory there. Well, they need those boxes to be able to ship anything left over back, or to ship like signs or whatever back. But Felicia and Pam, the other organizer, wouldn't let them leave their boxes in the area that they wanted to. They were like, you have to put them all in the kitchen. They come back the next day and they have taken those boxes and broken them down and put them in the mud to try to make a walkway.
Oh, Felicia would square up. Oh no.
So that's like, they don't have a way to ship their shit home. Like all their boxes are broken down and like covered in mud. I would be so angry. I would be furious.
Oh my God.
They were supposed to have Wi-Fi, but it didn't always work. So some of them couldn't use their point of sale systems and take credit cards.
What I was going to ask. I'm like, how are people, most people don't have cash. So,
they were supposed to have like, so basically if you're outside and you set up the night before, you had to take all of your inventory back with you because there was no protection. It's like on a main road, like someone can just come and take all of your inventory.
Yeah.
So they like had no protection from theft or the elements. Some booth placements were accessible to aisles. Like the way it was set up, there was no way for customers to even physically get to their booth. Like there was no aisle access at all.
Yeah. They're just like in a corner.
Yeah, like reach. It was literally, yes, it was like the corner booth was like this. So like
you're like, you over there, throw me a yawn.
And so again, the vendors worked together and like were nice and like gave people space, but like they didn't have to technically. Let's see here. Some of the vendors were placed in stairwells. A stairwell.
A vendor?
Yes. So like on the landing, somebody just has yarn. Is trying to sell to people. Yeah. Let's see here. They were supposed to get food vouchers as a part of their vendor booth fee, and not all of them did. So they weren't even getting food. Yeah, it was just an absolute mess. I feel people I feel the worst for are the vendors. Many of them lost money because by the time you add up the cost it took to get there, plus that crazy booth fee, and the fact that nobody could like find anything.
Yeah.
They made few to no sales, and so they lost money.
Damn. What the hell? What is this woman thinking? No thoughts. Head empty.
Yeah. So the vendors were totally screwed over. It was also an absolutely terrible experience for anybody who was a guest trying to make purchases. So let me share.
So let me tell you what, okay? Don't be making me, I don't like a crowded, stressful buying situation. Maybe it's making me think of Comic-Con, which I have a lot of commentary on if I ever film that video. But,
yeah, but
imagine something like yarn. I feel like you need space for not only their wares, but for multiple people at a time to be able to view them and touch them and look at them.
Yeah, for completely. And so like, okay, look, so you can see it's just like a muddy mess outside.
What is this, Glastonbury?
And this is also, I should mention, this is the afternoon after everybody who was trying to get in the morning left. In the morning, this is the big tent outside that we're looking at. In the morning, there was a 45-minute line in the rain to get in, but most people didn't stay more than like 45 minutes to an hour because it was so miserable. So this we're looking at is like not many people there, basically. And it's still a complete Like, look at this space. If you were in a wheelchair, how are you getting in there?
Yeah. No. This
Like,
is awful.
and then let's see, she had some
Like,
like,
how do you
look how
maneuver
muddy it
around?
is.
Oh.
Yeah, they're all like the outdoor people in some way, I feel like at least you have enough room to like escape the tents. But
With all that muddiness.
it's just so muddy. Yeah.
What
Anyway,
do
this is like
major events have against seating? Like, I
I
don't what
don't
is it in the modern world where you are not worthy of a seat? Like, obviously, in major events like this, I am, again, going back to my experience at Comic-Con, you can't have, like, numerous chairs everywhere, but it seems like they're anti-sitting.
there she is. Do you see her up there on the landing, circle of stitches? That is that is a booth, if you can believe it, up there at the top of
That
the
is
stairs.
awful.
Yeah.
What the frick?
But you're completely right. Like, I mean, we were hanging out here in September right after I really messed my knee up. Like you saw, I could barely stand for more than like 5 or 10
Yeah.
minutes because my knee was so stiff.
And then it's so hard if you go places like this or, a big events, conventions to find. Because I mean, at Comic Con, a lot of times I just had to sit on the floor and try to find like a wall to sit up against. It's like, why?
Yeah, it's like
Why?
they don't it's
Why
not
do you
a
hate
fun
seating?
well, especially considering this event is supposed to be a place where you can hang out and knit with people.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Where is that at in this?
Where? There's no music. There was no music and no place for people to hang out, which is part of what this is supposed to be.
Did they have food vendors at this one?
They did. So they had 3 food trucks for 3,000 people. And the
What was it?
options
$40 for a slice of pizza?
I don't even know, but the options were oysters,
Ew.
vegan,
Hmm.
or barbecue.
That is not those are not good things for, like, a
For a
general crowd.
wide exactly, that's not a good,
Where are
like,
the chicken
wide
tenders?
where
Okay,
is, like, a taco truck?
yeah,
You know
'cause taco truck, I feel like very easy to cater to both meat eaters and non,
Yep,
but
gluten-free is easy because they have corn.
oysters?
Oyster who I mean, no offense if you like oysters. Who likes oysters? Like, I mean, it's just such a
Not enough
niche.
people for that to be one of your one
Yeah.
of 3.
Yeah, so the food apparently if you could get food, it was good, but, like, some people didn't even know where the food was, and it's just, like, complete packed chaos. I've heard from some of the people who were there trying to buy that it was, like well, okay, let's get into it. So, the biggest issue with all this is accessibility.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a problem if you're trying to buy because, like, nobody can see the colors of anything. It's so dark and so crowded, nobody can find the colors that they're looking for and make sure that they're the actual right color. So, like, they would be, like, passing yarn skeins to people who were close to the natural light to
Oh.
try to see what colors were, and people would be like, "I found you some navy," and, like, have to, like there's that.
Indigo? Anyone? Indigo?
Yeah,
That is
like,
nuts.
I saw one girl who said she got to the cash register because she thought she had green, and she realized that it was all blue. And she was like, "I'm so sorry, I don't want this because it's not the right color." Um, so,
Oh
like,
my
nobody can see anything, and nobody is going up to the 5th floor because it takes forever for, like, the little one-person elevator to go up and down,
Yeah.
or you have to walk up 5 flights of stairs, which is not accessible. So, like and then if you anywhere you're inside, the way people are describing it, and I didn't do a good job of time stamping to find the right times, but, like, it is packed. Like,
Mhm.
it is wall people would just people so from, like, a mental accessibility perspective, multiple people talked about, like, having panic attacks, um,
I bet.
being, in high distress because they kept thinking about how if there's a fire or if there's a shooter, it's going to be a triangle shirtwaist factory situation where
Yeah.
everybody is crushed to death.
Mhm.
Um, and like people who have PTSD from like whatever, you know, like
There's
being in the
so many,
military
and
or
just from
whatever.
like COVID, and like obviously a lot of
Yeah.
us have returned to, but still in spaces like that, having more space just in
Yes.
general to breathe, it makes you
Yeah.
feel better. Oh, this is
Mul yeah.
I'm being taken back to my Comic-Con experience. I'm being flashbacks.
Yeah, well, multiple people talked about, like, feeling like they couldn't breathe. One vendor said that this little boy, like, came into their booth crying and asked if he could just stay there because he couldn't breathe and he couldn't find his mom.
Mm.
It was just, like, they were all packed in there like sardines, so, like, just from, like, a mental health perspective, I think that
Yeah,
this was, like, not a safe space for people to have a
no.
fun, relaxing, enjoyable purchasing
Yeah, you
experience.
cram them in here. You don't even have good food option or enough food options. You don't have the music, you don't have the communal space. You don't, oh
Yeah.
my word.
Yeah. So from that perspective, it was a problem, but even bigger was the physical disability perspective, like
Mhm.
accessibility. The reason accessibility is so important in the knitting community is because a ton of people like me who may have like autoimmune disease issues or physical disability issues, lots of people craft. Like it's a hobby that's very accessible for a lot of people.
Yeah, so you can be at home. And
Yes.
that sucks because there's already so many things that are not accessible. And for something like this, that people probably, like you said, save up their money to go to so they can look at things and touch them and be able to
Mhm.
go around and see other people. And now you can't because of this idiot and her, her booking this. Because, yeah, all of that you showed, if you're in a wheelchair, like, how are
How
you
are you?
getting any of it? If the on the
Yeah.
narrow sidewalks, it's wet, it's muddy, you do not wanna get ah.
Yeah, and, the first video I saw, it was making me laugh at first, and then I realized so, it was making me laugh because she was giving me the same energy as the what is it? The, um, Appleton candle lady.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yes!
I love that lady and it was that same energy, but I realized the reason she had it was because her friend that she was with walked with a cane.
Mm,
And she was just absolutely furious 'cause she was like, "I cannot believe I brought my friend to this event and it was not safe for her. It
yeah.
was not accessible. It wasn't even safe and accessible for me, much less her who had a
Yeah.
cane." And she knew a lot of the dyers, so, like, that was part of why she was so mad, but she had that, like, intense, angry energy, and I was like, "I
Now I
love
need to rewatch
this."
the video. I would be
Uh,
mad too, especially even with the
yeah.
cane. Again, nowhere to take a break or rest, to sit, and then the 5th floor thing is really throwing me for a loop. Is there no floors in between that?
They
Like
didn't
where
rent
stuff is?
floors 2 through 4, I guess. I don't know. Or I don't know if those are, like, closed off or
Yeah.
but, so, like, yeah, from an accessibility perspective, it was not fire safe. Like, somebody should have called the fire marshal and just shut the whole thing down.
Mhm.
Um, it was not safe if there was a shooter. There's only 1 elevator if you needed an elevator to get up to the 5th floor. Of those 25 parking spots, only 10 were marked as handicapped accessible, and they got no instructions about how to actually use them. Like, if you managed to get one of those, there was no instructions about how to actually like, where to park for
Yeah.
your handicap accessible parking. The rain was making everything slippery. Multiple people mentioned, like, "I am able-bodied, and I lost my footing several times."
Yeah.
Um, the booths were too tight to get in and out of, and the sidewalks were too narrow. So, like, this was an accessibility nightmare, and they're very lucky that the only injury that I've heard is that woman who broke her shoulder. Like, this could have
Very
been much worse from, like, a people getting hurt perspective.
good
If
god.
one person had said fire or if something had gone off that sounded like a gun, because we live in the
Yeah.
US and that's what happens,
Yeah.
um, there
That
would have been a
ooh, stampede, that would have hurt people. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So, anyway, rounding this out, So it was a disaster. Nobody had fun. I don't think this event will happen again because I don't think any of the vendors will go back, and I don't think any of the attendees would go
Oh,
back.
sad.
Um, the event organizers, I would say the callous is like the kindest way I could describe it. Oh, also, did I mention Felicia was a podiatrist in a past life? So like if anybody should understand the accessibility issue, surely it is somebody who's a foot doctor. Like, right?
Felicia, no sense to be had. That is so awful. Ruined.
So they were very unkind to people. These are the things that Felicia was overheard saying the night of the dinner. It's not my fault you have to walk your stuff here. I didn't make you vend. All anyone does these days is complain. You don't like it, don't come.
Oh my God.
Everyone is too sensitive and needy. No one can do anything for themselves. It's not my fault you can't walk upstairs.
It's giving boomer energy.
Yes.
It's not my fault you can't walk upstairs. Wow.
Yeah. It's not hard to walk. If you have a cane, it might be, or if you're in a wheelchair. She should watch where she's walking. It's in plain sight. That was her talking about the huge spike that somebody fell over and broke their shoulder on. I don't know what they want from me. What do they expect? Everyone just has to complain about something and expect special treatment for stupid reasons. Good for you for not being like that. I made a good choice paying you. She said that to the like one musician who showed up for the dinner to play. And then one of the vendors went to confront the other organizer, Pam, at the end of the event, and she was like explaining why this was so unacceptable, and Pam just offered her leftover tater tots. Like, you want you want my tater tots?
What is this, Napoleon Dynamite? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And then when the vendors went to tear things down, the Forland staff, they thought they had till 11. The Forland staff came in at 10 and was screaming at them. Like one woman was in tears, and they called Pam over to try to get her support. And she was like, no, you have to be out now. And she said, things change and contracts change. Your tears won't do shit.
Contract change? What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a wow. Yeah, I hope that never happens again. And you need to go back to podiatry, Felicia.
Yeah.
And
she issued an apology, but it was like, I'll do better. My bad. I failed in my goal to make this accessible. It was like one of the worst non-apology apologies I've ever seen. We didn't even get into the sponsors, but there were sponsors who had no signage anywhere. So like you would know, and the website wasn't updated with them. So the minimum that I can tell she made from this event was $300,000. That's like being conservative. I think she probably made closer to $500,000 off of this.
Rat bastard.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew?
Yeah.
So that's so awful.
Yeah. It was pretty much a disaster.
So the other big one that I already forgot the name of again, sorry, that's in New York. The
New York Sheep and Wool.
Okay. Is that happen, or has that happened this year?
Yeah, that went well. The other two ancillary events, Cape-Palooza and Indie Untangled, it sounds like those were both really fun. Okay. So Rhinebeck was still fun, but apparently it kind of ruined everybody's weekend because it was such a terrible experience that like they couldn't really enjoy the rest of the weekend.
A damn shame. Now I want to go to one. I don't
I do too. Well, especially now that I'm like starting to knit, I'm like, I could totally see myself going to one of these and having a very good time. And apparently they all like they knit matching sweaters with their friends. So they wear their matching sweaters together. I think that's so fun.
It is so cute.
I know.
It would take me 365 days to knit a sweater, but you know.
That's my next adventure once I master my socks. I've picked up my yarn. And I'll make sure we link the list of vendors who did it. So I should say in the aftermath, everybody really rallied together. I believe all the vendors have recouped their costs just from people supporting them.
Oh, yeah.
And like making it a point to buy from them.
Good.
So that's good. My local one that I didn't even know was there is Camellia Fiber Co. She's an East Nashville dyer, and I had already picked up some of her yarn before I even knew she was at this disaster. So
looky there.
You know, and I can attest right now holding this. It's very soft. So I recommend. But yeah, so that was the Fybrefest of the knitting world.
Wow. What a dude. I'm still oysters.
Yes.
Wow. I wonder if she's going to do it again, like the event.
How could she? Who's going to go?
I don't know, but you know, she sounds like she has that kind of audacity. At least try.
You know, you're not wrong there. Who would ever agree to sell there again?
I don't know. I hope not that no one would do that, because what an insensitive, selfish human being.
Yeah.
Yikes. Who knew? Oh, the Fybrefest. Wow.
The Fybrefest of knitting. So yeah, there's actually a lot of craft related drama that goes on. So if you want more, or if our listeners want more, there's certainly more to be discussed. So
I feel like one time I was talking about something with community, and somebody was telling me, I forgot if it was knitting or cross stitching, like they had mentioned it, something that was going on. And I was like, oh my God, we all have drama. I can't believe it. But I also can't believe it because we're all humans.
Oh, yeah. You get people together, there's going to be drama.
Yeah. Oh my God, knitting magic sweaters. Like, I cannot.
So cute.
That's adorable. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe if you look at the vendors and you're a knitter, you can find some new vendors to support.
Yes.
Because you said they're all small shops.
These are all like independent, like, you know, either it's a hobby or like a very small business, but
we love supporting small businesses because corporations are evil.
Exactly. So I did all of my Black Friday shopping this year was basically just yarn because it is hella expensive. So I took that 20% off. So yeah, but anyway, that's the story of Fybrefest. Hopefully that was decently entertaining, but if you want to watch people get into it, I found it very soothing.
I might have to dig on TikTok. Wow. The yarn that you were holding up, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much does one of those go for on average?
This is like, this one was $33. So the like mohair is like $40, $45. Like, it's not cheap.
So how many of those would it take to knit a sweater?
Well, you're thinner than I am, so less for you. That's one of the downsides of being a plus size queen, is it takes about 4 extra skeins. So the pattern I have, you have it double threaded. So I have this, and then I also have what is called a surrey, and it's kind of like a mohair to give it some like heft. So it takes 4 of each of those. So it's like $200 in on the yarn. So it's not cheap. But theoretically, you have something handmade, tailored to you / that you should have for a long time.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. I mean, the way fashion has been and is going, with everything becoming more expensive and yet using cheaper materials, I feel like not my whole wardrobe, but it would be handy to learn how to make some things, especially because I was watching a video talking just about like the decline in quality sweaters just overall.
Yeah. I saw that too from Mina Lee. Mina Lee. Yeah.
And I was like, damn, you ain't wrong.
Yeah. She's not. And it is very satisfying to make something for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm starting with socks because I have eczema now because of my medicine. It's given me eczema. So I wanted some like really soft socks, and that's nice too, just to have something that's not synthetic.
These, or they hate clothes?
Oh, the cat. I mean, they won't even let me pick them up. Do you think that they're letting me put like a sweater on them? I think not.
Nigel hates clothes, but he looks so cute in them.
So cute. Well, Jess, as we close out this wonderful world of knitting, where can we find you on the internet?
Jess Owens is my YouTube channel, and with the holiday season, I am trying to post more. Let me be for real. AdSense, so I can pay off my couch. And then Said by Jess on Instagram and TikTok. I have formally removed myself on the app formerly known as Twitter.
Clap, clap, clap.
Deuces. And yeah, I'm on Tumblr now, but I still don't know if I want to share that. So those are spaces. And you can find me on Goodreads. My name says Jess Owens, but like the URL says Jessie Owens with Jesi if you have to type it in. I don't know why, but it does, in case you want to follow me on Goodreads. And what about you? You
can find me at those same places. I'm also on Threads, which is the new... I've seen a big influx recently of people from Twitter. I feel like it is kind of... I feel like we're getting... I've seen more nastiness, which tells me that we have inherited a lot of Twitter users.
They're arriving.
Yeah, but you can mostly find me on YouTube, I would say. And reposting a lot of things on TikTok about Palestine, and Sudan and Congo. So, yeah.
Because, at least they extended the humanitarian pause by 2 days.
Woo. Well, considering that they're still shooting people during that pause. Yes. Anyway, knitting. No child abuse in this one.
Go get you some yarn from someone who dyes them by flower petals.
Yes. So pretty. So pretty. We will see you guys next time.
Here's a tab closed.
Oh yeah, tab's closed. Click, click, click.
Okay.
Bye.